Starry-eyed rumblings.
Data comes walking round the corner, slowly and in a daze, his eyes looking at the ground, shame written all over his body language. He still holds the murder weapon in his right hand, which trembles. This makes Helix Bane a little uncomfortable. Such a weapon needs to be in a firm, confident hand that knows how to use it. A weak, trembling and uncertain grip just won't do. Helix Bane decides to say nothing and first see what state of mind Data is in, by letting him speak first. It takes some time, but eventually he looks up and meets her gaze. It had to be done. Like you said, it needed a mind as a parasite. No way to live. Certainly not fair on the host. It's either me or them. Considering that they didn't actually own the body or the mind that they were occupying, and they were just leeching off others. It was the only just thing to do. There's some messed up things in this forge. Not all of it. He doesn't finish the sentence, but his eyes flick to Helix Bane. Helix Bane has two options here. On one hand, she can say what she's really thinking. Going from one killer to another. Murder is murder. It's dead, you're alive. Discount your blessings and move on. This response, Helix Bane knows, is not likely to soothe Data's new moral dilemma. On the other hand, she could not say what she really thinks, and instead say whatever Data needs to hear to keep him functioning and useful. On the third hand, she doesn't really care. She feels Data's fast losing his usefulness, and the reasons to keep him around are dwindling quickly. However, she decides to keep him around a little longer, just in case. You've got a mission to complete. You're going to have to make some hard choices if you truly want to see it through to the end. That was a poor attempt, even to Helix Bane's ears. Luckily for her, it doesn't seem Data needs much convincing of the righteousness and importance of his own mission. He begins to nod slowly, in agreement, understanding. Helix Bane avoids scoffing at this response. Instead, it's time to move on. Take care of the body. I've got an errand to run. I'll meet you back here soon. She begins to walk away from a Data that's no longer nodding his head. Helix Bane finds herself alone, walking through the corridors of the research vessel. Being alone, she finally feels at ease. The tension of watching over someone, or watching her own back, no longer weighing down on her. She jumps into one of the elevator shafts, sticking herself to the wall, and begins to climb up. She is making her way to the central control room. Given that the airlock had been tampered with, or accessed remotely, this would be the most likely place that would grant access. And so, with a little bit of luck, hopefully one of the worthy Foundation crew members would still be there to offer up some answers. Helix Bane doesn't pay much attention to her surroundings. She knows where she's going, and other things are pressing on her mind. Like the fact that she feels that she's running out of time. And she hasn't yet found a way to get off this research vessel that may well be blown up at any moment. And at present, her only viable option for escape seems to be through the Fortitude. And with that in mind, Helix Bane is very pleased to see two worthy Foundation crew present in the central control room. One older lady, pacing back and forth nervously, tapping her hand against her arm The other seems much younger, more like an apprentice or a cadet in training. She stands off to one side, quietly, trying not to draw attention. But Helix Bane doesn't notice her eyes, watching keenly the device set on the table, ignored by the older lady. The younger of the two also looks calmer, not completely without nerves. There's still an underlying tension within their muscles, but calmly standing, vigilant. Helix Bane approaches quietly and camouflaged, and waits. In the first hour of waiting, they don't give away much, just short exchanges, the older lady asking if there's been any update, the younger always replying the same. No ma'am, but I'm checking regularly. Then silence again, just the sound of pacing footsteps. After 3 more hours, Helix Bane finally gets something. The older lady speaks up. If the soldiers don't return soon, then we will be leaving. I do not wish to be here when this place blows up. And as we cannot leave too soon, don't want to be labelled with leaving soldiers behind, abandoning them. We'll leave. She struggles to continue for a moment, then says, well before the planned time of detonation, but not too early. She grits her teeth and then begins her pacing again. This information gives Helix Bane a few choices, 2 of which seem most prudent. 1, she could remain here and wait till the 2 female leave, follow them out, and hopefully onto the Fortitude. However, this could possibly mean waiting around for several hours. Several hours spent idle doesn't seem overly wise at present. The other option is to simply go in through the front door, the way Julian and Vang used. That doesn't seem much wiser. Helix Bane decides to gamble by deciding to wait to see which route these 2 crew members take back onto the ship. The fact that she's beaten, and bruised, and weak, and tired definitely played into this decision. Over 7 hours pass before the older woman finally announces, that's quite enough. Long enough. If the soldiers haven't come back by now, then they're likely indisposed, and we're not staying around to be blown up. Pack up the gear and let's move out. Helix Bane doesn't have much to pack, so she's ready as soon as they are. The older woman doesn't seem to have much either, just a single briefcase which she closes without adding anything. The younger one, however, takes much longer, gathering bits of gear and important looking pieces of paper, books, and other equipment. Helix Bane is impressed that she manages to fit it all in the backpack on her back. More impressed as she hoists it onto her shoulders and doesn't seem to strain under the weight. Bags packed, it's time to leave. The 2 women leave the central control room, and Helix Bane follows behind. They don't go far. After but a few turns, they reach an airlock that is already occupied. A small ship is docked, perhaps a small personnel carrier. A single soldier from the Worthy Foundation stands guard outside. The 2 women walk up confidently. The older woman flashes a badge, though it seems more out of formality and procedure than being totally necessary. They clearly know each other. The older lady and the guard begin a conversation. Helix Bane keeps a distance, remaining at the end of the corridor, peering around, watching but unable to hear the conversation. As the conversation ends, the 2 women begin to board the ship, and the guard begins to make preparations, likely to take off. There's not much time to think, but Helix Bane begins to shift, with a picture of the guard goggles in her mind. Helix Bane opens her eyes, coughing, struggling to gasp for air. But a violent hacking fit keeps her from drawing in a full breath. She is sprawled on the floor, her skin burning, and being split open by 1,000 small, slow incisions across every inch of her body. The shift failed. She scrambles forward, barely able to see, not able to stand, feeling for the edge of the corridor, squinting, blinking, trying to clear her eyes so she can see if her prey still remains. Thankfully, it is. The young apprentice had just finished unloading her gear and is preparing to sit down and strap herself in. She hesitates, deciding whether to sit near the older woman or take the seat directly opposite. Helixbane takes advantage of the moment of hesitation. With her options quickly dwindling, she hoists herself back onto her feet, pushes off the wall to give herself a head start, and begins to sprint towards the open ship. She tries to be as quiet as she can. However, in her current condition, it is a supreme effort simply to move her body, and her feet slap louder than she'd like on the ground as she closes the distance to the ship. She's only a quarter of the way there when the younger apprentice turns and spots her. Her eyes go wide. She opens her mouth as if she's going to call out, then, looking over at the older woman, thinks better of it. With a fairly calm and competent manner, she unbuckles herself, her hands trembling only a little. She gets up and moves towards the door quickly. Noticing the apprentice's movements, the older woman begins to inquire something of the young apprentice. However, that inquiry turns into a scream as she notices the abomination that is Helixbane sprinting towards the ship. She begins to thrash in her seat, buckled in as she is. She's not going very far, but she tries anyway. Her hands fumble along the length of the belt, trying to unbuckle it. Meanwhile, the younger apprentice slams her hand against a panel beside the door, and the airlock cycles closed. Helixbane on the wrong side. Lacking the energy to stop, Helixbane slams into the airlock door. It doesn't budge. She looks through the window and can still see them. The young apprentice, her wide eyes locked onto Helixbane, taking in every detail, memorizing. The older woman, still screaming, thrashing, losing her mind after seeing the horror that is Helixbane.